All right, hello everyone. I just saw something interesting here on StreamYard that I never saw before. It said traffic is high. We're creating more resources to deal with it. Try again in 30 to 60 seconds. So let me see if I can see myself on YouTube, and we'll go from there. If it's broadcasting there, then I think it's okay. Yep, there's my red icon. And there's me. Okay, so thank you to whoever gave me that like before the stream started. That is always welcome and that is always appreciated. Let me just open this up tonight. Yeah, I just wanted to give some reactionary thoughts to Thursday's debate. It was what, it was about four or 5 days ago, but it's still in the news cycle, and people have been reacting to it. And I just wanted to give some of my thoughts on it. I don't have a lot, but I also wanted to ask any viewers what you thought about it. Okay, being being a Fed, I do need to be careful about what I say about political matters openly. So I'm going to keep it general. I play it safe a lot these days, don't I? But yeah, I need to be careful. But there are just some things that I wanted to comment on, and if a lot of folks don't have comments, then I'll just wrap the stream up. I'm kind of forcing myself to do this one. I spent most of my weekend working on my book. It's almost done. It's almost done, and I'm a little tired of looking at screens. So this is going to be just a brief reaction to Thursday's debate. I don't know that I could say anything that I don't know if I can say anything that everyone else hasn't said. But I also wanted to. That's why I made the title. What do you guys think? Okay, what do you guys think about what happened on Thursday night? Okay, I'm going to play my intro, and then I am going to give my words. If no one joins, then I'll just wrap the stream up because I do have a whole stack of other things to do, and other things that I can do. No matter how long you're here, please smash that like button. That helps with the engagement, and it helps with the YouTube algorithm. It's funny, before I did the Byron Donalds stream, I was at 1,990. Either YouTube unsubbed some people, or some people didn't want to hear me talk about Byron Donalds, but I went down to 1,985. I gained one in the last couple of hours. So if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm close to 2,000. I've been knocking on that door ever since. I probably need to have Dr. Tia-san Johnson come back. All right, I'll see you on the other side of the intro, and then I'll try to be brief tonight. But I want to hear what the audience has to say about Thursday night as well. So we're going to start with some Aaron Clary tonight. Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information.
You might say 50s pop music wasn't the great. Okay, culturally there might have been some problems you might have had with no culture is perfect. But it was a pretty darn good society we had going on. And now it's forget culture or music or even if people are obese or overweight. As an economist, I'm like, we went from like, I'd have to look it up, but having a surplus around like 40-50% GDP. Now we got a national debt of 110% GDP. Like the fundamental finances are absolutely shattered. And so we are a mere fraction of our former American selves. And so but the people who led that charge and opened that Pandora's box was the baby boomers.
Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. Not everybody is privy to the same information. Okay, I have to change that up. T. Riddler, thank you for stopping through. I imagine the master teacher just wound things down over on his end. So thank you for stopping through. I'm just going to give some brief reaction to last week's first presidential debate. Wow, it's July. We are technically in the second half of the year now. Please smash that like button if you haven't. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. So yeah, so we're living in different worlds. In the aftermath of Thursday's debate, I had dinner with a friend of mine from the baby boomer generation, and we were driving around on Saturday, and I expressed, yeah, they should let Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the debate stage, so that we T. Riddler. Well, no, not necessarily. But if it contributes to a few more shekels in my collection plate, then that's good. All right. Everybody's dealing with that today. All the ads, unless you buy the YouTube Premium. But anyway, I was driving around with a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine from the baby boomer generation, and she was, going on and on about how corrupt number 45 is, and all these different things. Andre, salute to you too. And I said, you know what? I said, they need to I said, we're past the need for a third party, and we need a third party. They should let Robert F. Kennedy Jr. On the debate stage with President Biden and President Trump. I always call him former President Trump because he's not the president now, but in the media they're calling him President Trump. And she looked at me, kind of turned her nose up, and said, "Well, why would you want Robert F. Kennedy on stage?" And I said, "Well, I've heard. I think when he took his position on the jab, I'll call it the jab because YouTube is regulating what we say. He pretty much, in a lot of ways, fell out of the mainstream news. So, and so I didn't really hear anything about RFK Jr. again until another content creator named Tom Billiou interviewed him, and they talked for about 3 hours. And I listened to their discussion, and I said, wow, I like what this man is talking about. His voice is a little scratchy, but he talked about just a couple of things off the top of my head. He talked about the level of divisiveness, in the country right now, and how we need to fix that. He talked about the economy. He talked about the southern border and how everybody, all parties involved, are being hurt by the current situation and the current handling of the southern border. He talked about, I think they did talk about the United States being a declining empire. Okay. And he talked about ways to remedy that and potential strategies for remedying that, and maintaining a quality of life for the citizens in this country. So he was talking about I thought, some very, very important things. In this introduction, that was from one of my discussions with Aaron Clary. Aaron Clary basically made the case that the fundamental economics of this country are basically shot. Okay, so I don't know about you guys. I know a good chunk of my subscriber base are Black Manosphere, part of that army. Okay, but I watch a lot of things. I watch the Words and Numbers podcast. I watch Tom's podcast. I watch Chris Williamson's podcast. I watch a lot of things. I watch a lot of things from the science sector as well. And a lot of people, I watch the Words and Numbers podcast. Did I just say that? But I watched the Words and Numbers podcast. I hosted them about a year ago. Different sectors of YouTube are talking about different things. And one thing that financially minded and economics minded people are talking about is the fundamental economics of the country. And so what these individuals are talking about is that most of our past presidents in recent times, all they've done is contribute to the national debt, and all they've done is contribute to the deficit spending, and all they've done is continue the printing press, quantitative easing, the printing press, just printing more money, printing more money, printing more money. Apparently, they've all, regardless of what they've said, they've all been a part of that act. And they've all been just kicking the can down the road. I don't know if any of you have heard that term before. They're just kicking the can down the road. So I don't know personally, I don't know what any of this looks like 10 years from now. For the younger people, for those of us who are, moving on into eldership, I don't know what any of this looks like in 10 years. Okay, I don't know if there's I hear there's a reset coming of some sort. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know what life looks like if we're going to keep printing money and if the deficit is still going to keep going up, up and up. I actually worry more about that than President Trump's 34 felonies. Yeah, I don't know what any of this looks like going forward. So I'm saying all that to say, and I want you guys to let me know what you think there in the chat. Please smash the like button if you haven't. I want you guys to let me know what you think there in the chat about what you saw on Thursday. I thought I wanted to hear some more about the deficit. I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear a vision for the country going forward, and I didn't really hear that. I heard a lot of Infinite Observer. There you go. Thank you for this comment. The U.S. national debt is rising by $1 trillion about every 100 days. $1 trillion about every 100 days. Okay, is that an Avatar eye? Is that a Navi eye, or is it something else? Or is it something else? That looks like it looks like one of those Avatar eyes from James Cameron's Avatar. He said, saw the headline the other day, and so if you're not talking about that on a debate stage for an hour and a half, then it's like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? I mean, if this constitutional republic, because it's a constitutional republic, it's not a democracy, quote unquote. This constitutional republic is in part a business, and if the economics get shot, then what's going to happen to everybody? I don't know. So no, I don't care so much about President Trump's 34 convictions. I don't really care so much about Hunter Biden. I don't really care so much about a lot of this stuff. I'm wondering what's going to happen to the country. I mean, are we gonna be living in boxes? Are we going to be running around with torches and hunting wildlife again? What are we doing? Please smash that like button. If anyone wants to, if you're watching live and you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are here. The super chat is live. And if you're watching on the playback, you can also leave a super thanks. But please smash the like button for the engagement. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to the channel. So yeah, I think RF Kennedy Jr. needs to be on the stage. And I just think that, and I've made this observation. This is why I keep playing that intro. In this world, we're all living in different worlds. Okay. So a lot of the older people, the baby boomers, they're not digital. So they're all of their post debate coverage is on CNN and MSNBC. Okay. So they're not seeing what's in cyberspace. And so you have 350 million people in this country. Everybody's looking at something different. Okay. But who's looking at the most important things? So I don't want to ramble for an hour. You guys let me know what you think there in the chat. Infinite Observer, thank you for your comments. Please continue giving comments if you have comments about Thursday. So I didn't really go into Thursday with expectations. I was, I'm kind of surprised that number 45, potentially number 47. I'm surprised that he's still here after everything that's happened with the with June 6th and the Atlanta court cases and the New York City court cases and everything. I'm surprised he's still here, but everything they've thrown at him, nothing has been able to take this man down. President Trump or former President Trump. Nothing's been able to take him down. So I'm surprised that he's here. Now, Infinite Observer, thank you for the $10 super sticker. I appreciate that. Apparently, the debate conditions, so the debate was hosted by CNN. Okay, and I think that's part of the problem. I think they need to let they need to let Robert Kennedy Jr. on the stage so he can, talk about this and kind of pull out the important issues. But apparently the Biden team, they got to choose the conditions and they got to set the parameters and the terms for the debate. So it was all set up for Uncle Joe to succeed. And yeah, he looks like he's past his prime. I'll just say that. I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to dog the guy out, but Uncle Joe looks like he's past his prime. And when he started buffering and his eyes started, going like this, and he started, you could say he had a cold. People have been trying to attribute what happened to him having a cold, but that clearly wasn't a cold. That was him. That was old age. So I don't know what his purpose is and what his reason is for continuing to want to man that post. I don't know why the first lady gave that rah-rah speech afterwards. Like, you did good, you answered all the questions, but there were several stretches of incoherency, and there were stretches of things where nobody knew what he was saying. We beat Medicare. That when I was sitting on my couch watching that, and I was like, did he just say that they beat Medicare? I don't know. Some of the funnier moments, I think, when they each time one of the conditions was they would turn the other person's mic off. So that was a good thing because they didn't want President Trump cutting him off and strong arming him and doing those things. But some of the funniest moments of that debate were President Biden talking, and then President Trump kind of just turning like this and wondering, okay, did he just say what I thought he said? Did he just take that position on the southern border when he was the one who opened it back up? Is he the one? So there were a lot of, in that regard, the debate was kind of funny in some ways. It was very entertaining. I think the big comment, excuse me for a second. Andre, thank you. The golf comment was hilarious. So at one point they were up there talking about who in golf. And so it goes back to, okay, guys, we got some serious problems here. Why are we arguing about golf and who would beat whom? What are the issues? What are you guys gonna do to dig us out of the holes that we're in? Okay. Cynical Optimist, thank you for stopping through. Everybody, please smash that like button if you haven't, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you're not. Well, a lot of things were said. I didn't write notes, but I would challenge anyone who sees this, and you have to be careful talking about this because people get emotional. I'm going to attempt to get into some good trouble here. I got my John Lewis bobblehead back there. Context, at least in the Black community. I'm Black. My mom said you should make more Black center content. You should show more stats. Hey, Mom, I would challenge people to think about context and think about nuance. And I know people don't want to think about context and they don't want to think about nuance. But the Black jobs thing, okay, the Black jobs thing, people were livid over that. I think I first saw how livid people were over that. I was looking on Instagram, and Valdez, the angry man, he makes a lot of shorts. And there was a woman on there who said, she was clapping her hands, Black jobs. Tell me, what are Black jobs? I want to know what Black jobs are. And people were sounding off about Black jobs. And when I looked at it again, when I saw clips of that again, what I heard number 45 say was Black and Latino jobs. And so I think I would encourage people to think about the context of what was being discussed, okay, and try to think a little bit as opposed to just responding. I'm not saying, before you say, Dr. Dunbar, you're a MAGA guy. Nope, I'm an independent. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I want people to think and think about the nuance and think about the context. And they were talking about at that time some of the ramifications of having a porous southern border and who that's hurting. Okay, that's what they were talking about when number 45 made that comment. Okay, when he made that comment, I did kind of say, okay, I think I know what he's trying to say, but I don't know if I would have said that. But when you go back and listen to it, he did say Black and Latino jobs. Okay, which is a bit of a head scratcher since we're talking about Latinos coming over the border. But when you think about that, what I hear is those individuals are taking jobs from people here. Okay. And that's an important consideration. Okay. Are people here, are they being displaced by the people that are being brought in? Okay. It's an uncomfortable conversation for some. But and that was another head scratcher during that debate, because I thought I heard President Biden say that he was for a more secure border. Okay, so there was a lot of voodoo going on stage. There was a lot of misdirections and a lot of trickery going on. A lot of playing on words about who's doing what and who said what and who's really for what. And I think what we saw is that number 46, he's been for an open border. Okay. So I wasn't as triggered by the Black jobs thing. I might get in trouble with some people, but I wasn't triggered by that. I think I know the context in which that was being discussed. Maybe I wouldn't have said that. Maybe I would have said American jobs or jobs for citizens, lower income citizens, but I don't know that I would have said that. You guys let me know what you think there in the chat. So right now, let's see, today, I'm not going to go much longer. Today, we just got word that the Supreme Court, they basically ruled that former presidents, I think, are immune from prosecution. So that was big breaking news today. And that any legal charges against President Trump would come from the states. So it's going back to the states now. And so I think any further court action towards him will come, it would take months to occur. So sometime after the election, maybe sometime in the next year. So that was breaking news. I think in the aftermath of the debate, there's a lot of panic on the Democratic side. There's a lot of fear. Okay, now based upon how Uncle Joe looked in real time without a teleprompter. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what becomes of all this. Apparently, he's going to stay the course. There's going to be more debates in the fall, and he's going to try to stay in there, though there's going to be a lot of pressure to get him out because a lot of people on that side, on the donkey side, they want him out. I don't know who they're going to bring in. I don't know if they will raise up Kamala to be the candidate. I don't know if it's Gavin Newsom, but there's a contingency on the Democratic side that now wants President Biden out. Okay. And some of us were talking about this at happy hour on Friday. I think I raised this question because, a conversation started. If he's not pushing the buttons in the White House, if he's not calling the shots, okay, then who is calling the shots now? Okay. If he's not cognizant and if he doesn't have control over his own faculties, then who is making the decisions at the White House now? But I think it's incumbent for everybody. I don't have much else to say. Do your own research. Okay, do your own research. Don't necessarily take what the mainstream media is telling you as the gospel. Watch alternative content. Read books. Do your own research. Don't just follow the herd. Don't just assume because Joyanne Reed says it or because Rachel Maddow says it or because Anderson Cooper says it. Don't assume that it's right. Don't assume because Bill O'Reilly says it. Don't assume because Tucker Carlson says it that it's right. Do your own research. Okay. T. Riddler says, let's see, I'll start with here. Cynical Optimist says, peace, Doc. Thank you for stopping through. Infinite Observer says, the Chevron deference decision had some legal scholars in an uproar also. I'm not so familiar with that. The Chevron deference decision. The Cynical Optimist says, Black jobs, to my understanding, is jobs that were historically done by Black folks disproportionately. Yeah, Dr. Thunder had a good stream on that this morning. T. Riddler says, I was most shocked by how the mainstream media has flipped on 46. They've gone from calling him sharp and strong prior to the debate to now saying he needs to step down. Yeah. And if I was surprised with the First Lady because she should be his first caretaker. And if you can clearly see that he's not himself and that he's not up to the job, okay, then maybe it is time to pull the plug. I'm not saying that because I don't like some of his policies, but if you see someone, if you see that a loved one is suffering and they're not themselves and they're having a hard time doing even the basic things, then what are we doing? Slick Rick says, all right, he's bringing the heat. He always brings the heat. He says, Black people moved on from the farms and made jobs It's not the 1930s anymore. Well, I think the question, Slick Rick, is in the context of what they were talking about, how are the people here being impacted by the flood of people coming in the southern border? Okay, who are they hurting? And who are they? What are the ramifications of bringing all those people here? Okay, I've talked about reasons why they're doing it. Population. The most of the Western countries are below population. On other channels, they've talked about the Democrats wanting to replace the black vote. Okay, but I think the question is, what are the ramifications of bringing those people here? And which neighborhoods are they going to? And what are the effects of bringing them here? And are they hurting some of the people who are here? And then that's the other twisted thing, is if they are, and your leaders are willingly doing it, I don't know, what does that say? And I thought that was I'm going to be diplomatic in saying this, but well, the current administration was intentional about doing that, about opening up the border. Okay, but it looked like at times on the stage on Thursday that number 46 acted like he didn't know what was going on, and he acted like he didn't know what the ramifications were or are for bringing all those people here. He acted like he didn't know what's going on in New York City, what's going on in Chicago, and what some of the negative effects of this porous border are. He played kind of dumb, in my opinion. I thought that was kind of disingenuous. AW says, I will watch the replay. Yeah, I'm not saying anything too profound. I'm kind of treading in the shallow end of the pool. I'm a federal employee, so I have to be careful about what I say here. But I'm just giving some reaction, and I wanted to ask you what you guys thought as well. So I'm going to read through some of your comments, and then I'll probably wrap the stream up. So it looks like these are the two guys who are, it looks like it's going to be these two guys. And that was the other thing that I liked about what Robert Kennedy Jr. said, is because he described the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as basically being two companies, two corporations. Okay, and they don't want another player on the field with them. And I think that's a problem, because the other argument is that they're two wings on the same bird. Okay, and neither of the two candidates have really talked about printing more money. Okay, and the debt going up for the boomers. I don't want to sound macabre because I'm talking about my parents and my aunts and uncles. They'll all be, well, okay, they won't see the long-term effects of this kicking the can down the road thing. Us Gen Xers, the Gen Zers, the millennials, we will see it. We will see something. Okay, the boomers, especially the black boomers who keep voting blue no matter who, they're not going to see the end result of all this, but we will. Okay. AW says, to deny that there is such a thing as black jobs is the same as to deny there are such things as a black side of town. Everybody knows it's true, but it should go unsaid. There are a lot of things that should go unsaid that are true. T. Riller says, Dr. Jill may be the real president calling the shots. Okay. Which would corroborate her wanting the party to go on at the expense of Uncle Joe. Okay. And that's the other thing. She's a doctor. She, of all people, should know signs of senility and dementia. She should know that, but it's surprising. yay, you answered all the questions. And, Slick Rick says they're pushing inner city people out of their communities. The Fifth Ward in Houston and Compton, California are majority Hispanic now, but they voted for that. That's the irony of the whole thing. That's the irony of election 2020, was that I don't think people knew what they were voting for. They were so fixated on one thing that they didn't look at the totality of what they were voting for. And that's what's kind of intriguing about all this. Okay. Yeah, and that's part of the issue with falling for things like that's part of the issue with falling for things like symbolism. Or we have the first Black female vice president. That's good. That's well and good. But what were you voting for? What policy points were you voting for in voting for that? Okay. Is that worth winning you over? Having the first this or the first that? I think ultimately you have to think about what's this. If you love this country, okay, what policy points are these people touting? And some people can't separate, if they don't like the person, if they don't like the candidate, they can't separate them from the policy points. People in many instances are voting for whether or not they like the person, or how suave the person is, or whether or not the person is the same color. But what are their policy points? Do you understand their policy points? And what are the long-term ramifications of their policy points? Okay, a few more, and then I'm gonna wind it down. Let's see. Infinite Observer says the Chevron deference has given power to agencies to interpret laws. Okay, thank you for sharing this. He says the scope of the Chevron deference doctrine was when a legislative delegation to an administrative agency on a particular issue. The scope of the Chevron deference doctrine was when a legislative delegation. Okay, I feel like there was a word missing there. Slick Rick says, AW, name the black jobs that are being taken from Black men by illegals. He says, or question was not explicit, but rather implicit. A court may not substitute its own interpretation of the statute for a reasonable interpretation made by the administrative agency. It gave federal agencies the ability to rely on experts to interpret laws. Resurrect Mints said, okay, so you're going to get me in trouble here. Biden is a race guy who wants to replace Black people. Yeah, that's interesting, because when you talk to going back to different worlds, some people would look at you and say, huh, what are you talking about? That's not true. He doesn't want to do that. How could you say that? But it all depends on where you're looking. Okay. T. Riddler says Kennedy doesn't vocally present well. Unfortunately, his voice is likely his biggest detriment. Yeah, he's got that scratchy voice. I think there's a story about why his voice sounds like that, but I don't know why. But yeah, it's when you listen to him talk initially, kind of like, dude, what's going on with your voice? But he seems to be thinking about the future of the country, and he's articulating it in ways that the current two candidates are not. Infinite Observer says they say the Chevron deference is a pretty big deal when it comes to protecting consumers in such from even more corporate malfeasance. Resurrect Mint says Kennedy is controlled opposition, just like Nader and Perot. Okay, and a lot of people, yeah, I might look up the current polling numbers before I wrap the stream up, but whenever you have a third party candidate, people will say, well, if you vote for them, you're a vote for him is a vote for Trump because you're taking votes from President Biden. And also, if you don't vote, that's still a vote for Trump because you could help get Biden in there. But I don't know. He has a lot of good things to say, in my opinion, and a lot of and that deficit is a huge one, in my opinion. Slick Rick says, "I don't think Jill is a real doctor." Okay. Oh, she's not a medical doctor. Why did I think she was a medical doctor? She's an educational doctor. I'm not saying educational doctors are not real doctors, but I thought she was from the medical sector, and it turns out she's not. Okay, she's not an MD. Let's see. Yeah, this is a big part of what's going on. Resurrect mints. Democrats count on Black people being policy ignorant. Well, that's a can of worms there, but I would not disagree. I've in my content, I've been outspoken about my upbringing basically being Democrat good, Republican bad. Okay. And yeah, we tend not to talk about the policies. Our people get emotional, very emotional. And then once people get emotional, logic kind of goes out the window at that point. This is true. Perot hurt George Herbert Walker Bush in 92. That's true. And then Resurrect Mints says Nader hurt Gore in 2000. I believe that's also true. Yeah, I lived through all of those. Slick Rick says, read my lips, no new taxes. Bush hurt himself by lying. Yeah. You gotta with all these guys, you gotta take a look at what they actually do versus what they say. And sometimes, oftentimes the two don't line up. Okay. And I think I'm going to wrap this up there. I think some of the most important things are not being discussed at this point by either side. I think President Biden is too old. I think it is time for him to ride off into the sunset. Aquateki is here. Thank you for being here. He says, when one cannot pull the lever for either of the top candidates in good conscience, abstinence or writing in a choice is the only logical action. Okay. Yeah, everybody, we're witnessing history. I don't know that this has ever happened before. I don't know that we've ever had one candidate going through all this legal stuff. And I don't know that we've ever had another candidate. I don't think Ronald Reagan was, I think he was still somewhat coherent in 1988. They say that the Alzheimer's was setting in and he wasn't himself. I was young at that time. I was younger. I was a preteen. But I don't think we've ever seen a set of circumstances like this before. And with the country on the edge of something, seemingly about to go off a cliff of some sort. I don't think we've ever seen this level in my lifetime of everyone being divided and so many people being angry. And we have the immigration thing going on. I don't think we've ever seen this before. So I don't know where this road leads. T. Riddler says, it's a really unfortunate state of affairs, but I tend to believe people get the leaders they deserve. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once again, everyone, I don't have to tell this to you guys there in the chat, because you guys are pretty well read, and you guys are thinkers. But I'm going to go over some books that I've read this year to give me to kind of give me insight as to what's going on right now. And these are things that, well, these are all books that I'm reading and have read. Our Fragile Moment, this is on the environmental side. Uncle Ron Wills always says to read both sides, learn both sides of an argument. This is written by a someone considered a climate alarmist. I would consider myself an undecided, but I wanted to read this. I hosted this gentleman, just a kid from Arbor Hill, Tyrell Hughes, his family man, also a Johnson C. Smith University alumnus. That's a golden bull there. Crimson Cure's book, Reclaiming the Black Feminine. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I've hosted these two guys, Cooperation and Coercion, Dr. Anthony Davies and James Harrigan. They have a really good podcast talking about the state of affairs today. I hosted Aaron, Enjoy the Decline, Aaron Clary. This is a book that I highly recommend. It's a quick read as well. Aaron wrote another book, A World Without Men. There's a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of unprecedented circumstances going on right now that we are all experiencing. Chaos Reign has entered the building. What's going on, Chaos Reign? Chaos Reign, I don't know if you do your artwork yourself, but I love that logo. I never told you that, but that logo is very, very original. Dr. Tiasan Johnson's book, Solutions for Anti-Black Misandry, Flat Blackness, and Black Male Death. Okay, this is a good book to read. And then this one, I think was very insightful as well. Men Without Work by Nicholas Eberstadt. Okay, there are a lot of unprecedented circumstances that we are living through right now. So read, do your own research, have a healthy sense of skepticism, and don't just go along with everything the mainstream media tells you. Who's telling you the truth these days? Okay, I'm gonna end with this. There was a really good channel that I found. Let me see if I can find it really quickly for you all that I recommend. I watch a lot of things. Let me see if it's still in my feed. Yeah, there's a really good channel. There's a really good channel called Dad Saves America. He did a reaction to the debate, and he did a really good video. Yeah, you should watch this video. Let me see if I have the link here. I'll drop it. Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat. He did a really good reaction to the debate. This is called The Presidential Debate is a Teachable Moment for Our Kids. So it's either that video or this one, The Trump-Biden Debate is a Crisis for America. This was a good video as well. In one of these, he talks about, well, the fact that our country is a constitutional republic and not a democracy. A lot of people have that mixed up. It's a constitutional republic and not a democracy. But I'm going to share one other link. If I remember, if I have time, I'll leave these links in the description box. I did a really good stream on my science channel last week about anti-natalism. If you guys don't know what that is, discussions. '76 science. If you guys don't know what anti-natalism is, you should, yeah, look that up. But the link to that stream is right here. If I remember, I'll leave it in the description box below. Antinatalism. Okay. Everything is interconnected today. Nothing is happening. A lot of these movements, a lot of these cultural shifts, a lot of these changes that people are trying to make, a lot of these things are interconnected, and they're causing a lot of the outcomes that we're seeing in our society. Okay. Yeah. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap this up. I didn't intend to talk for an hour, but once I get started, the time flies by. So I'm not going to go over all of my typical ending material. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if you want to donate something, that information is in the description box. And thank you guys for weighing in here. And if you're watching on the playback, please weigh in and let me know what you think. But do your own research. Resurrect Mints, thank you for this. I appreciate this. I'm a little more diplomatic and collegial. And yeah, in everything I cover over here now, I'm a little more diplomatic and collegial. But I got to protect myself. Everybody has to protect themselves in these digital spaces. So do your own research. Check out independent media and ask lots of questions. All right. Let's see where the road leads. Let's see where this road leads. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.